Welcome into the night shift on Sports Radio 810 WHB. I'm Michael Darcy, joined by Kyle Collier and produced by Jay Powers. We teased it before the break. The Chiefs have some decisions to make. Every single NFL season, you go into it thinking, we've got a pretty stacked roster. And whether it's due to injuries or guys not playing up to snuff, certain position groups can be weaker than others. And something the Chiefs have found out very quickly is that the Chiefs' defensive line is not very good, at least at generating consistent pressure on the quarterback. Outside of George Karlaftis, who, whenever I see him play, it's like if he has a sack, it's a coverage sack.
He's getting those pressures.
He's getting those pressures, but outside of him, Chris Jones hasn't been leading the team in pressures. I mean, Mike Dana, Charles Omenihu.
Chris Jones has risen to the occasion, I feel like, ever since the snafu in Jacksonville. But yeah, they're still just not getting home.
And partly, I think it's not entirely Chris Jones' job to carry the weight of the entire defensive line.
Oh yeah, he gets double teamed the most out of any defensive tackle,
and he still wins.
Yeah.
So Chris Jones, even though he hasn't been playing or didn't start the season playing the same way that Chris Jones normally does, I think that it's just not enough. The Chiefs have not gotten any pass rush or really any great production from Derek Nottie.
You mean the guy who is 124th out of 124 defensive tackles on PFF?
That guy.
Derek Nottie? That guy? Oh, that guy they traded for. That guy.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Gave up a draft asset and released Mike Pennel, who is currently one of the better run stuffers in football, according to PFF. Yeah, that guy.
Yeah. What's the opposite of a run stuffer? That's what Derek Nottie is. He's just practice. He's like man, this is gonna be mean, but he's like he's like the dummies in practice.
The tackling dummies.
Yes, exactly. They're just pushing him back. That's what he is.
And the Chiefs did this to themselves.
Yeah, I don't understand that. And combined with the fact that Chris Jones spoke this week and he was asked about Mike Pennel and he said, "We got to get my dog back." What the hell happened?
It was the most no-brainer thing in the entire world for Mike Pennel to make this final roster. He was the best defensive tackle on this team outside of Chris Jones, and here's what happened, or here's at least what I think happened. The Chiefs saw Mike Pennel, and they said, you know what? This guy's older in age. He's been with us for a couple years. We think we can play the roster game. We think we can manipulate, kind of like a pitcher, a Major League Baseball player, you manipulate the service time.
Yeah, send him back down and up. Yeah.
They tried to put him on the practice squad and say, you know what? We're going to put you on the practice squad. You'll be elevated for the game. You'll play snaps. You'll probably still start. But we don't want to give you this roster spot. And I think he saw that, and I think he felt disrespected.
Yeah, I think he was too. I remember the week he signed with the Bengals, or maybe it was after his first game with the Bengals, he posted something from The Dark Knight. It was the Joker going, "It's not about the money, it's about sending a message." He posted that on his Instagram. Yeah, he definitely took that somewhat personally. And yeah, you're probably right, because they did that with Mike Pennel years ago, did they not? He was a practice squad guy. He got elevated. Then he went to like Chicago or Carolina or somewhere. Then the Chiefs bring him back on a vet minimum deal, He was just kind of a half of the season rental for like multiple seasons, it felt like. And yeah, it feels like they tried it one too many times this offseason. We'll never know exactly what happened, but regardless, it was a mistake.
You can do that with Kevin Knowles. You can do that with Jack Cochran. You can't do that with Mike Pennel. I mean, I'm a Mike Pennel guy. I think what he has done for this Chiefs dynasty is always going to go underappreciated. Like, I always think back to the 2020 AFC Championship game between the Titans and the Chiefs. Mm-hmm. Could the Chiefs stop Derrick Henry? Well, they stopped Derrick Henry in large part to Mike Pennel.
Yeah.
And he has been on this team for multiple championships, and the way that his tenure ended, as a fan, I didn't enjoy seeing it, but from a football perspective, it left you with a gaping hole that you need to fix.
Yeah.
And right now, the Chiefs are going into the trade deadline. You're getting reports from Jeremy Fowler of ESPN, Diana Rossini of The Athletic, that the Chiefs are actively looking to trade for a defensive lineman. And I think Brett Veach has watched the pass rush struggle to get to the quarterback and also not be great against the run and say, you know what, we need to go out and make a change. And I think that's what they're going to do.
Yeah, just looking at PFF right now, and I know PFF stats are not the end-all be-all, but, just use your eyes and watch the game, because Ashton Gelati, 103rd out of 113 edges. Karloftis up there, he's 27th. Not bad. But let's go along that defensive line. Mike Dana, 73rd out of 113. O'Menihue, 93rd out of 113. Let's go to the interior. Chris Jones, he's risen since I think we last spoke. He was somewhere in the 70s out of 124. Now he's up to 36. Jerry Tillery, 100th out of 124. Derek Nottie, 124th out of 124. And then Omar Norman Lott goes down. I think he was, a somewhat promising prospect, but now you've only got 3 healthy interior guys. A Minihue can be kind of inside or an outside guy, but after that, you've got Jerry Tillery. You don't feel good about that. And Matt Derrick, he was on our show with Serena and I yesterday, and Curtis, and he talked about Brett Veach wanted to go after Juwan Briggs, I think, from Washington, or maybe he's a Jet. I can't remember, but
was it Cleveland?
I can't remember what it was, but Brett Veach, I think, recognized that there was going to be an issue and just couldn't really get a deal done. Now I think you have to.
And I would be willing to give up substantial draft capital. Obviously, I'm not talking like a second or a third round draft pick, but you gave up, I believe, a conditional 6th or 7th for Derek Nottie.
Yeah.
And I don't think the Bengals would trade back Mike Pennel. I would be open to a reunion because I think he knows the defense. The locker room loves him. It just makes sense. But there are other guys out there that would fit under the Chiefs' pretty restrictive salary cap that make a lot of sense. And one guy that we even talked about, on the podcast KC Sports Report, which you guys can find on YouTube, Kyle, Caden, and I do this show every single week. And we were talking about how Calais Campbell of the Arizona Cardinals just makes too much sense.
Yeah, you've got, if you're the Chiefs, you've got a little over $4 million in cap space. Not a ton of room to work with, but yeah, think about the moves that they've made in the past. A Carlos Dunlap, a Terrell Suggs, a Melvin Ingram, just kind of getting vets who can add a little something to that defensive line. And funny how it's always the defensive line that the Chiefs seem like they need to add to. Heck, even a guy like, I can't believe it didn't work out, but Josh Uche last year. I think you sent like a 6th round pick to New England for him, and that didn't work out. But yeah, Calais Campbell is one of those guys who should not be expensive. He's 39, but he's still getting after it. And right now, he would be your best run defender along that line.
And your second best pass rusher? He's got 3 sacks this season.
Yeah, you're right.
He might be your second best pass rusher.
Yeah. And I'd still put George over him because George can...
Youth, pressures.
Yes,
I mean,
he's just not getting home. But yeah, Calais Campbell immediately would vault to one of your most important positions along that defensive line.
And it would cost nothing.
Yeah.
It would cost the phone call and a day 3 pick.
Yeah. And maybe you'd have to pay you're the Kansas City Chiefs tax. But how have we been talking about this Kansas City Chiefs team this whole show, Darcy? You feel like you are the Super Bowl favorite. The sports books certainly do. Take advantage of the offense that you've cultivated, the strength in your secondary. Make a move, take a risk, overpay if you must. But I think you must add to the defense to really just secure any possibility you have at that Super Bowl.
Well, next year, Kelsey likely coming off the books. Mm-hmm. Juwan Taylor coming off the books. Christian Fulton probably coming off the books. Yeah. The Chiefs are in a situation where, I mean, every year with Patrick Mahomes, it's win now, but with one of the big 3 potentially not playing anymore after this year, there's more urgency to get it done now. And so if you can go out and give up a day 3 pick for Calais Campbell, I've seen the name Colin Saunders thrown out there a lot. I mean, Colin Saunders was never great, but he's better than Derek Nottie.
Yeah, he was somewhat dependable, I would say.
And if it's not Colin Saunders or Calais Campbell, I mean, Jermaine Johnson of the Jets, he'd be a little bit more expensive. But, Jalen Phillips, he's very expensive in Miami. But, Caden mentioned it on the show KC Sports Report. Like, even Matthew Judon of the Dolphins, he was a healthy scratch last week.
Yeah.
You're telling me that he would be worthless to add to this team for, I mean, he might even just get straight up cut. I mean, if he's inactive, a 7th round pick, maybe a pick swap might be all it takes.
Yeah. I do get a little nervous that the fact that the Dolphins made that guy a healthy scratch, I feel like he would be an immediate upgrade here in Kansas City. But yeah, you mentioned guys do come off the books next year, but I mean they have some big decisions to make still, which I think limits the ceiling. So Jeremy Fowler's article today about 25 players who could be moved. He mentions Breece Hall as a fit for the Chiefs. He mentions Jalen Phillips as a fit for the Chiefs. If you swing big, you're essentially, probably going to eliminate, one of the decisions you have to make next year. Leo Chenal, Trent McDuffie, those guys are guys I think I'd like to see back. Brian Cook even. You have some decisions to make. Jalen Watson here before too long. There's going to be some decisions Brett Veach has to make in the offseason, and how much those decisions will be affected by this trade deadline, I think it'll be telling. Whatever move Brett Veach decides to make, it'll be telling, what he's thinking about next year, too.
When we have gotten all of the reports that, the Chiefs they're not really interested in a running back anymore. It's all about the defensive line. Sometimes reporters will come out with reports to throw other teams off track. The Chiefs could still very well be in the running back market. We just don't know.
Yeah.
I would not hate it at all whatsoever if the Chiefs are like, you know what? This Breece Hall guy would probably make our offense a lot better. And yeah, we have to sign him next year, but if he's healthy, he fits, he can catch the football. Now, I don't think that Breece Hall is going to end up being a Kansas City Chief, but I don't think that if they pick up a running back, and even if it's not a popular guy, but if they pick up a running back and they trade for a defensive lineman, you're not coming away from this deadline feeling like they didn't address everything.
Yeah, because frankly, along that defensive line, just a body would be an upgrade right now. Because right now it's just a turnstile in the interior. If it's not Chris Jones getting the work done, and Chris Jones is over 30 now, he cannot be playing 85, 90% of the snaps. Like he used to. I don't think he's ever that high, but he can't, shoulder that kind of load anymore. And Travis Kelce can't either, which is why it was so important you got all your receivers back and healthy. But, along that defensive line, you need people there. You have zero depth right now. If somebody else were to go down, it's telling that when Omar Norman Lott went down, they didn't bring up any defensive linemen from the practice squad. They brought up a corner, Kevin Knowles. When you're some special teamer, right?
Yeah.
And that's telling. So I think a move is coming. And frankly, any move you make, I think, is an upgrade.
When your depth gets tested, you need to go out and make sure it's strong. And I'm in a complete agreement with you. I think a move will happen. I think the Chiefs will go out and trade for a defensive lineman before the trade deadline is over. And I think Brett Veach understands the urgency surrounding that position and saying, we're not good enough right now. That's not saying that we couldn't be good enough, but with the way that Steve Spagnuolo and the linebackers in the secondary are playing, it would be a shame if they didn't go out and just get one or two pieces to make that defensive line just a little bit better to push them over the edge. And I want to talk more about some candidates that might be traded out of Kansas City to actually go out and acquire some of this talent. And we'll do that right on the other side of this break. You guys are listening to The Night Shift on Sports Radio 810 WHB.